everybody, it's Melly Rose with Jewel. I'm here with Holly from Holly Hoarder Yoga here today. We're starting off our series, What Is? And today we're going to start off with Forrest Yoga. So this whole session is going to be What is Forrest Yoga? And who better to ask than our resident Forrest Yoga instructor. So Holly, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, like Melly said, I'm Holly Hoarder Yoga, and I am teaching Forrest Yoga here. I am the only Forrest Yoga teacher in Southern Colorado that is teaching classes, so come and see me. The biggest question that I get asked about what is Forrest Yoga is, are we outside? And the answer is no, we're not
actually
outside.
in the forest? Yeah.
We're not in the forest. Forrest Yoga is named after the woman who created Forrest Yoga on a forest, so that's where the name comes from.
Awesome. That is definitely the biggest what is Forrest Yoga question. So we're going to go ahead and jump into kind of three big questions about Forrest Yoga that our customers give us and that Holly hears. So the first one is, what about Forrest Yoga? Obviously it's not outside or in the forest, but what is the biggest misconception about that practice?
I think the biggest misconception can be because it's not vinyasa. So it's not flowing one breath per movement. We do stay in static postures longer amounts of time. So we hold postures 8 to 10 to 15 breaths. And I think on the surface, if you haven't practiced Forrest Yoga, that might sound easy, or it's easy to relate that to a yin class. And actually, it makes it very intense because we're holding very intense postures, longer amounts of time, and we're building strength. So Forrest Yoga is very much a strength building practice. And the other thing about the thing that people don't understand is Forrest Yoga has a very emotional quality to it.
Yeah.
So it's very physically intense, but it's equally emotionally intense.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've heard about Forrest Yoga is it's really good for people who have, PTSD, or if they're trying to, get through something like you just mentioned, really emotional. What is it about Forrest Yoga that helps with those types of issues?
That's a really good question. Forrest Yoga, well, Anna Forrest, the woman who created Forrest Yoga, has been through a lot of things, and that's exactly why she created Forrest Yoga. Was there wasn't anything out there that spoke to her, like allowed her injuries to be part of the practice and her trauma to be part of the practice. And Forrest Yoga allows and makes space for whatever you have going on, whether it's physical injuries, emotional injuries. We are going to modify to that because we don't heal until we address. So that's the point, is we're going to build strength, we're going to address our injuries, however they show up in our bodies. And so that's how Forrest Yoga became a practice that offered a different space, a different safe space.
Yeah.
And a lot of trauma does find Forrest Yoga, and I think it truly relates to the safe space that we create in every Forrest Yoga class.
Yeah, absolutely. And as someone who's taken several different kinds of Forrest Yoga, the breathing and holding through those longer poses really does bring up emotional responses, even if you don't expect it, and just teaches you to breathe through that, and that's something that I think is super unique. So with that in mind, the second big question I want to ask is, what makes Forrest Yoga unique in your mind? What is something that's very different from other yoga practices?
Two things. The biggest thing is we relax our necks in every single thing that we do in Forrest Yoga. We don't have any drishti practice. There's no looking at the ceiling. We actually relax our neck, and the reason behind that is Forrest Yoga is more of a modern lineage. It takes into account modern body injuries, and we have a lot of pressure in our necks. There's a lot of stress, shoulders, TMJ, and Forrest Yoga allows a space where you can actually relax your neck and soften through the jaw. So people like me who have TMJ, it's like the first time you learn how to actually soften your jaw. So working with a relaxed neck is pretty amazing. You also learn how much you use your jaw to muscle through things, and then learning how to redistribute the work to bigger muscles. The other thing that's different for me about Forrest Yoga that is really exciting is that we do a lot of abs. We do a ton of ab work, but the ab work to me is what differentiates a Forrest Yoga practice. It's what makes you strong. Like the abs that we do in Forrest Yoga are amazing of building that strength and building awareness in your low belly. A lot of times when we think of abs, we think of getting the six-pack. And that looks great, but it doesn't build strength.
Sure.
Right? And it's not doing anything to help hips or pelvic floors, or there's a lot of trauma that happens within your low belly, and the abs are just so strengthening that it helps with a lot. So relaxing the neck and learning to use your low belly.
Yeah, and one thing I would add that I know Holly will expand on that I think is unique is the use of tools. Obviously, every practice often says, you know, grab a block and that sort of thing, but there's a block, a roll, a strap, and then using the wall. So what is, you know, kind of unique in that aspect?
I love props. I have to say, I love props. And it wasn't until I started practicing Forrest yoga that I was really like in love with props as I am now. I feel like in my past experience, it was always, you know, the props were a down level. It was a modification down. So nobody ever wanted to use a prop because it's that ego thing. However, in Forrest yoga, first of all, we use a prop. We use
all
a
the
roll
time,
to
everyone.
do abs. Like you have to use a roll to do abs.
Yeah.
And for me, what I learned in Forrest yoga with props is you don't have to struggle all the time. Like learn to accept help. And that's what a prop is. It's not accepting help or accepting assistance or support. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger. So I love using the props in class because in all reality, that takes you to a deeper variation of postures because you're finding the posture without the struggle. You're gonna be able to breathe better, you're gonna feel it better, you're gonna likely have less of an injury in it. And I think it's very important work to learn to accept help.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. But learning with props is really good. And we do a lot of immersions in Forrest yoga, and the wall is a big part of that. And a lot of times people are scared when they know that we go upside down a lot in Forrest yoga, but you never do it without the wall.
Out of all the various kinds of yoga, and I know you teach several others, you know, especially if someone needs to be subbed and that sort of thing, what drew you to Forrest yoga and why is that kind of your calling?
So I was practicing yoga for a few years before I found Forrest yoga. And I enjoyed yoga. Like, I kept going. But there was this, everybody would talk about, you know, that they felt at home on their mat or it was their safe space. And I never quite had that connection. I enjoyed going, but that was kind of where it landed. And then I took my first Forrest yoga class. And within the first 10, 15 minutes of class, I felt at home. Like, all of those things that I never understood before finally made sense. And it was how a Forrest yoga teacher showed up. Like in Forrest yoga, there's not a lot of pretenses.
Yeah.
We're kind of normal. Like we don't wear black. Like it was the first time that I saw a teacher that I could relate to a little bit differently. So that was big for me. The way the practice feels in the body, like it really resonated with my body that I had to, you know, work on my belly first, turn on my breathing. Like that's what works for me. And then from the emotional standpoint in the work of Forrest yoga saved my life. Like I don't know what I would be or where I would be today if I hadn't found Forrest yoga, but it legitimately saved my life and taught me a different way to feel and to breathe and to move.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And knowing all of Holly's backstory, you guys, she's just an amazing person and brings so much energy to all of these classes. And Forrest is really special. It's different from every other class. You heard it here. There's so many different aspects. And all different practices of yoga are important and have their place.
Absolutely.
But Forrest, you know, has a special place here at Jewel Studios, and we're so happy that Holly is with us. So hopefully this helps you guys. Also keep in mind, even if you've never done yoga before, you can come and take one of Holly's classes.
Me.
Yes,
I will take care of you.
Absolutely. It's all the way through advanced. Holly's going to walk you through what would make sense for you as a beginner, whereas you may see someone else in the class doing something more advanced. That's okay. That's what we're all here for, to learn together, to practice together, and to grow here at Jewel Studios. So hopefully this helped you guys. Please feel free to stop by. Check out all of Holly's class times online. Right now, as this video is being posted, she has 2 class times here at Jewel Studios, Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Come see us. Come practice with Holly.
Come practice with me. Let me show you what Forrest yoga is. I would love to meet you.
Yay. Hope to see you soon. Thanks, guys.